Joining us now is Mike Rogers, CNN national security commentator and a former GOP congressman who chaired the House Intel Committee. Is the congressman making a point? Is their credibility shot?
You don't think it's case closed, Chris? Come on. I'm a little worried about this. When you have a sitting member of the committee who comes out and says, hey, this has become the leaking committee to advance a political agenda from both parties, unfortunately, I worry about this. And unfortunately, even if there's some good things in this report, I don't know if there is or not, but now you would be hard-pressed to believe them. It looks like a partisan document. It's been handled like a partisan document, and it's been released like a partisan document. And I think that does speak to the credibility of the committee's ability to do hard investigations on serious matters.
What do you make of the assertion of one of the Republicans on the committee that the intelligence community just got it wrong? They misinterpreted data, and that's how they came up with the conclusion that Russian interference was geared towards helping Trump. Do you buy that this committee would know better than the intelligence community?
Boy, that would be a tough one for me, and I'll tell you why. So, all of that documentation is there. So the underlying classified material for the intelligence community to come to that conclusion would be available to the committee if they sought it out. I hope they did. And then for them to have a different conclusion, there better be a lot in that 150-page report to show why that conclusion was wrong. Because you're not talking about, one agency or one analyst. You're talking about a collective body of work from all the intelligence sources. So they used signals intelligence and human intelligence and analysts from different agencies to come to that conclusion. So that to me is a big hurdle to get over. If you're going to claim that collective body intent, which they've stated clearly, is wrong, then you've got a pretty big hurdle to get over that. And again, the fact that they won't even give the report to the other party before they read it to vote on it, it just doesn't seem right. When you're talking about something as serious as the Russians interfering with our election, and by the way, think about what they were doing. This is why we should be so angry about this. They were trying to pit Muslims against Christians, the Russians were. They were trying to pit black activist groups against white supremacist groups. And these are the Russians doing this in an election season to try to drive a wedge between Americans. And if that doesn't get people's hair on the back of your neck up and get you angry, I'm not sure what will. And this report seems to water those kinds of things down. And that's what worries me most.
Well, there seems to be some thematic consistency here when it comes to mitigating the Russia effect, whether it's the House Intel Committee, and let's be honest, ever since Nunes went up to the White House to kind of collaborate with them, the credibility there was in question. And now you have this right out of a spy novel caper involving these UK citizens. Theresa May says they believe that it was Russia or Russia losing control over its chemical weapons. But our White House, very mild, doesn't even say the word Russia when dealing with the event. How do you explain that?
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure.
You must.
I will say in the
Mike,
old days.
You must make sense of it.
I will say in the old days, remember the old days of a presidency when your Secretary of State came out and kicked somebody right in the choppers. That was a big deal, right? That spoke for the administration. And just the fact that we're having a conversation, did that really speak for the administration, or is the Trump thinking in a different place is probably not a great thing. When you have your secretaries who work for the president coming out that strongly, that should mean that the Trump administration takes that position. We'll see today. I hope they correct this today. And listen, this is a pattern with Putin. So it's not just people who have spoken out against him. It's people who were with him and then aren't with him. Those are the ones he seems to target for death. He's got about 10 of these in his portfolio now. And fortunately, when they probably found the location of this particular former Russian spy, and put an operation in place to do this. This is not unusual, unfortunately, for the Russians. There's a lot of things that we're going to have to do as a nation to join the United Kingdom in pushing back, including in cyberspace and maybe some sanctions and maybe some other geopolitical efforts that we undertake, including in Ukraine, that helps push back on Putin. Let's hope all of that's going to happen.
And that's the weird part of this, is that we have a president who's always spoiling for a fight. He doesn't spare anybody his criticism except Vladimir Putin. Mike Rogers, can't ask for a better guest than you on this story. Thank you very much for joining us.